Shelby K, and I make videos all about living that vet tech life. Today I'm going to be giving you guys my top tips for getting your first job in a veterinary clinic or veterinary setting. These are things that I think are really helpful and really important when you're applying for your first veterinary job, and they really helped me when I started looking for my first vet assistant job, and I think they'll be really useful to you guys, so I wanted to share them with you. Now ultimately these tips could really work for any job that you want to go into, but I'm going to be focusing obviously on the veterinary field, but as I said, you can probably apply these to any job that you want to get. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the tips. The first tip I talked a lot about in my last video about how to become a veterinary technician, and that is to shadow first if you can. I think it is very important when you're first starting out in the veterinary field to kind of see what it's like before you commit to something, because it can be very different from what you might be expecting. Shadowing can also help you start to build a relationship with a practice. If you shadow regularly, or a couple times, like a month or something like that, it can kind of help you start to build a relationship with the doctors that work there, the techs that work there, the other staff. Just kind of start to build a relationship there so that eventually maybe you want to apply there, and then they'll already kind of have an idea of who you are, what you're looking for, that kind of thing. So it can really help you kind of get your foot in the door and establish some sort of relationship with a practice before you actually start applying for jobs. My biggest tip for when you are shadowing is to act interested. Ask lots of questions. Just show them that you are interested. Just show them that this is something you are very passionate about, that you really want to know more about. Because again, I think that kind of helps build that relationship. They can kind of see how persistent you are, how passionate you are, how serious you are about joining the veterinary field. And again, this might help you down the road should you decide to apply to that practice. My second tip is to build a vet-specific resume. Now, obviously, if you're just starting out and you're looking to apply for your first veterinary job, you're not going to have any veterinary experience. But how you can do this is you can put any kind of animal related experience on your resume. You want to highlight any kind of animal related experience. Put what kind of pets you've owned, if you've been in 4-H, if you volunteered at a horse boarding facility over the summer, if you worked at your grandpa's ranch, you were an FFA, anything that is animal related, you can put on that resume. It doesn't have to be just job related. Anything that is animal related that you have done in your life, it's just going to make your resume look a lot more put together, and that you've actually put in some work, and that you actually have a passion for working with animals, and that you have kind of done whatever you can to really be in the field. This is definitely a field of passion. It's a field that you need to have a lot of interest in, and putting that kind of stuff on your resume will definitely show a practice that you are dedicated, that you're interested in it. My third tip is to include a practice-specific cover letter with your resume when you turn it in to apply. Now what you can do is you can create a general cover letter. If you guys don't know what a cover letter is, it's essentially a letter that you attach to a resume that explains why you're applying for this job, why you think you'd be a good fit, what you're looking for, that kind of thing, and I'll go into that in more detail in a second. You can create kind of a general letter that you're going to attach to all your resumes. Just make sure that you address each letter specifically to the hospital you are applying for. This makes hospitals feel like you're not just applying to a million different places. So in the beginning of your letter, just say to blah 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 clinic, or to the staff at blah 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 hospital. As I said, it's a lot more personal, and it gives clinic a little bit more confidence that you're not just kind of applying wherever just to apply, that maybe you actually have some interest in this specific hospital for a certain reason. Now in that cover letter, I think it's really important to kind of lay out specifically what you're hoping to gain from working at this clinic. Tell them whether you have plans to go to technician school, or maybe even veterinary school down the road, and you hope that working at this clinic will gain you the skills needed to do those certain jobs, or that will help you succeed in school later on. Whether you're looking for a long-term job that is going to fulfill you. A lot of employers like that because they know exactly what you are expecting from them as an employer should they hire you, and so they kind of know what you're looking for, and they can kind of get a good idea of how much work you're going to be willing to put into it, because if you're doing this for a specific purpose, you're going to probably work a lot harder than for someone who's just like, yeah, I just like working with animals, I just want to do this for fun. It's also very important to include not only what they can do for you, but what you can do for them. How are your skills going to help advance them? I always like to put something along the lines of, I feel that my time management and organization skills would benefit a fast-paced and busy practice such as this. It just shows the future employer or the practice or whatever how you feel that you would be a benefit to them, you know, obviously they want to hire you because you're going to benefit them in some way. And then of course your resume is going to kind of supplement that and show kind of what you've already done in previous jobs and schooling and things like that. My fourth tip for getting your first veterinary job is to apply in person and to apply everywhere. A lot of hospitals are not going to post when they are hiring online, or they'll only post it in maybe 1 or 2 spots that maybe you're missing. So I think it's really important to drive around to every single hospital that's in your area and turn in resumes. Most hospitals, even if they're not hiring, will take resumes, and then when they are hiring, they'll call you, you know, if they're interested in you. And if you can, you know, ask to speak to the practice manager or the doctor, just show some sort of interest. When you are turning in resumes, most of the time they probably won't be able to talk to you, but at least in that way it kind of shows a little bit of interest. Also make sure that you dress somewhat nicely. I'm not saying you have to go in dress pants and high heels. Don't show up in a tank top and short shorts. Like, first impressions are very important. So, you know, dress a little bit nicer, especially because if you do get to talk to a practice manager or a doctor, they may interview you right there on the spot. I'm sorry if you can hear my dogs. They are wrestling right outside my door, so hopefully the mic's not picking that up, but it might, so I apologize if you guys can hear that. They may want to interview you right then and there, and if they don't, first impressions are important. So if you show up already looking nice, they're gonna remember you a little bit more than someone who showed up in pajamas. And another reason I think that going in and applying in person is a really good idea is because it kind of gives you a sense of kind of what the vibe is of an area. Is it really hectic and busy? Does it seem disorganized when you walk in? Or is it more quiet and, you know, kind of laid back? Is there just stuff going on all around? Are there 10 million phones ringing on only one receptionist and she's frazzled? Kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what's going on, what the vibe is. If you do go apply in person, that you won't get online because you're not actually going to be in that clinic at that time, kind of seeing what's going on. And my fifth tip is, in the meantime, while you're waiting to get hired on, or if you want even before you get hired on, is to get as much animal experience as you can. Become a dog walker, become a pet sitter. You can do it through different apps nowadays with like Rover and things like that. It's really easy to become like a pet sitter or a dog walker. Try to get a job or volunteer at like boarding facilities, and you can volunteer at your local shelter or clinic. Most shelters have some sort of clinic, hospital setting on site, and a lot of times you can contact them, tell them you're interested in vet med, that you're going to be a student or you already are a student, and they will let you come in and kind of help out in the clinic. So that could be really helpful. If not, just volunteer at the shelter. It's gonna help build that resume. It's gonna help you look better, especially if you don't have that veterinary experience. The more animal experience you have, the better it's gonna be in the long run. Number 6 is to be willing and open to take any position that might be available. Yes, you might apply to become a veterinary assistant and they might only have a reception job open. Take it. Or a kennel attendant job. Take it. It doesn't matter what position it is. If it gets you in the door at that hospital, take it. It might not be what you want to do, but everyone's got to start somewhere. Most hospitals have some sort of cross training and, you know, kind of flip-flopping between working the front and working the back. It gets your foot in the door, and eventually you're probably going to be able to get into the position you want. And my 7th and final tip for getting your first job in a veterinary clinic is to not give up. As I said in my top 10 honest vet med truths video, a lot of hospitals are not willing to train people who have no experience. And that's just one of the downsides and the hard truths of this field. But do not let that discourage you. To be honest, you're probably going to apply to a bunch of places before you find someone who will even interview you. That was what happened with me when I first started. I had very little animal experience. I had no veterinary experience whatsoever. And I applied to probably 7 different places before I even got an interview. So don't let that discourage you. Just as I said, apply everywhere, keep trying, check in on their resumes, ask to speak to managers, ask to speak to doctors, get that animal experience, and eventually you will find that place that is willing to train you. If it's something you're passionate about, you won't give up. If it's something you truly want to do, you will make that dream come true. And as I keep saying, I promise you it's going to be so worth it. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you found these tips helpful. If you guys have any other tips for getting your first veterinary job, please leave it down in the comments below. Be sure to check out all of my social media, especially my Instagram. It'll all be linked down below. I'm going to be posting all of my updates on my Instagram, so be sure to go and subscribe to that at Chill. Also, let me know down in the comments below what other types of veterinary related videos you guys want to see from me, because I want to do stuff that's going to be helpful for you guys. I just want to thank you guys so much. We hit 100 subscribers this weekend, and I know it's a tiny milestone. It's a milestone nonetheless, and I'm just super proud and just excited that we're building this community, and I'm finally kind of putting effort into doing something that I've always really wanted to do, which was do YouTube and make videos like this. So I want to thank you guys so much for subscribing and supporting my channel. I love you guys so much. As always, I thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys.